before, the frenzy of euphoria was uncontrollable. Some keep the Sabbath going to church. I keep staying home. It's a bobolink for a chorister and an orchard for a dome. Some keep the Sabbath in surplus. I just wear my wings. And instead of tolling the bell for church, our little sexton sings. God preaches, a noted clergyman, and the sermon is never long. So instead of getting to heaven at last, I'm going all along in the name of the bee and the butterfly and the breeze. Amen. My family actually understood me. But after a few years, Father became highly concerned and requested that the newly appointed Reverend Jenkins assess my spiritual health. After relentless questions, Reverend Jenkins reported back to my father, Emily's spiritual health is remarkably sound. Remarkably sound. Paradise is remarkably sound. Yes, in Amherst, my garden. So many meals from my garden. And the fields, the sky playing its part. And Carlo, my dog, agreed with the euphoria, running rampant in every season, teaching us that all weather is good weather. No one can compete in the sky with God. And my father, racing his horses, the one that was part mule and ran the fastest of all when he whispered a little secret in his ear. Could I but ride indefinite, as doth the meadow be, and visit only where I like, and no one visit me, and flirt all day with buttercups, and marry whom I may, or dwell a little everywhere, or better, run away. No one ran away from a meal at the Dickinson home. Benny and I made them absolute perfection. Father insisted on it. Father, no one's baking could compare with Emily. Did all the baking. But there was one imperfect plate with a chip in it, Benny, that is never to be served to Father. Benny, you served the plate with the chip to Father. Oh, maybe Father won't notice. Benny, Father notices everything. Faith is a fine invention. Gentlemen can see, and microscopes are prudent in an emergency. Excuse me, Father, just taking that plate. Benny, please give Father my plate. Just stepping out on the patio for a moment, Father. Onto the patio, into my tin pail, smashed, hot with a large patio stone, pulverized plate, dinner, Emily's appetite. And to the evening, Father. The incident was never again discussed among the family, but it was sometimes discreetly referred to as the anecdote plate. And Mary Lyon forbids the development of culinary skills with her students. For the true missionary, the development of culinary skills is a waste of time and focus. Whatever Emily Dickinson was going to do in her life, it will include baking. Father loved when you held your own like that, but he was so suspicious that too much poetry joggles the mind, Emily. So he got me a tutor, Benjamin Newton, a young law student working in his office. He was so young and frail. We were feeding him all the time. He taught me what to read and how to delve into the life of a poet, and that sublime gift of faith in things unseen. He went away, district attorney of Worcester County, and on the morning he left, put into my hands this book, Emerson's poems, encouraging me to be a poet. He guided me in letters and didn't tell me he was sick. On March 27, 1853, I read in the newspaper he was gone. He had died 3 days earlier, 5 years after my tutor and I had met. consumption. Will there really be a morning? Is there such a thing as day? Could I see it from the mountains if I were as tall as they? Has its feet like water lilies? Has its feathers like a bird? Is it brought from famous countries of which I've never heard? Oh, some scholar, oh, some sailor, oh, some wise man from the sky, please, to tell a little pilgrim where the place called morning lies. Who could understand? Something was happening that the two of us had going. Austin was off in Cambridge, and Vinny off visiting him. My mind would drift 100 miles away, and I would wonder what Austin and Vinny were saying. But there was Sue Gilbert. She had to know everything. Sue was here. She could take on the devastation of any force of nature. Sue could front the Gulf Stream. And I showed her my writing. I was beginning to write poetry. She understood the smallest act is part of that grand circle of life. Those sainted souls and angelic intelligences never very far from memory and conscience. I was to write Sue over 100 letters and send her close to 300 poems. I never would have left. But the big world didn't call me to work and to beat me for not working. And Sue married Austin. And Austin and Sue lived right next door at the Evergreens. And the Evergreens became the social center of the town. Everyone gathered at the Evergreens. Poets, authors, editors. I played 3 hilarious tunes on the piano. The laughter was inextinguishable. Samuel Bowles, editor of the Springfield Republican, called it heaven. I called it Jerusalem. And Sue showed Samuel Bowles my writing, and he published one of my poems without my permission. I immediately wrote, "Tomorrow makes yesterday look mean. If I amaze your kindness and your perception, my love is my only apology." He had to know more. Dear Mr. Bowles, I stagger as I write. Death is all around us. The Civil War told. My tutor, Benjamin Newton, the youngest child of our servant, Maggie, my dear Aunt Lavinia, and my mother is confined an invalid of home. But here they are safe in their alabaster chambers, untouched by morning and untouched by noon. Sleep the meek members of the resurrection. When the words are perfectly placed in a sphere, they will be safe to go out into the world. But I was writing. The words were pouring from my pen. In 1862, I wrote over 350 poems. But I needed help, someone to guide me in the sphere of what I was creating. It seemed so simple, but it was so frustrating. There were boulders everywhere. It was so frustrating. Well, let's just stop for a minute. Have you ever had a day that was frustrating? You're kidding. Yes, it could be the tiniest thing or something huge, finding that button on the computer or your cell phone or your GPS. It could be waiting for the phone to call or putting something together that you get in the mail. Something tiny or something huge, but it stops your dream from happening. Okay, you have pencils and paper. I don't think we needed words to warm up for a frustrating